In the story of the western frontier, Texas stands tall. Woods, plains, and rolling hills, teeming with life, only matched in beauty by the desert mountains on the southwest border of the state. From the beginning, sacrifice and conflict secured the vision of the young but free land. Rugged and diverse cultures, by sheer determination, settled this frontier. Stephen F. Austin, father of the new Texas Territory, said, "Texas is a beckoning star to the American settler." The realities of gaining and maintaining freedom in Texas were often harsh and unyielding. Yet there was always a warm reception to the weary traveler and anyone in need. A former Texas governor once wrote, "There's a special mystique to Texas. We're two-stepping, rugged individuals, but we're the first to define hospitality." The spirit of Texas hospitality was revealed in October of 1878, when Galveston journalist George Dealey established the Island City Protestant Orphans Asylum. He began in a house at 8th and Broadway, but soon moved to a larger building on 11th in the shadows of Market Street. In 1879, Dealey released the orphanage to a board of directors under Moritz Koperl. The following year, a state charter was secured and land was purchased to eventually construct a building. Galveston philanthropist Henry Rosenberg joined the board and became its president in 1892. Upon his passing in 1893, Rosenberg left $30,000 to the orphanage for building purposes. Designed by renowned architect Alfred Muller, the cornerstone of the new Gothic revival structure was laid on October 20th, 1894. Work progressed quickly, and the building was dedicated in November 1895. In September of 1900, Galveston suffered the full force of the worst natural disaster in U.S. history, the hurricane and flood called the Great Storm. Devastation was felt throughout Texas, but the loss to the island was overwhelming. The damage to the orphan's home was nearly a complete loss. Fate may not be fair, but often has a way of redeeming itself. While Galveston suffered, New York's newly constructed Waldorf Astoria Hotel was the talk of kings and dignitaries. Learning of the destruction of the children's orphanage, famous publisher William Randolph Hearst sponsored a charity event at the hotel. Attendees included Samuel Clemens, the Texas Governor Joseph Sayers, and other prominent guests. The event raised $50,000. It was enough to rebuild the destroyed home. World War I and the early years of the Great Depression, the orphan's home experienced a decline of revenue. However, in the 1930s, the number of children increased through policy change, which allowed children other than orphans to live in the home. After sustaining damage in the Texas City disaster of 1947, the building endured natural wear and storm damage through the 1960s, but continued operating under the name the Galveston Orphans Home. Then in March of 1976, a resolution passed prohibiting racial discrimination, and in May of the same year, as a reflection of accepting neglected children other than orphans, the home was again renamed and became the Galveston Children's Home. Finally, in 1984, the new home merged with several other children's facilities on the island, and the new entity was named the Children's Center Incorporated. The once thriving home for orphaned and neglected children fell into disrepair and sat empty for several years. The history of the Galveston Children's Home is woven into the fabric of the island city. Birthed within the rugged culture of the young state, the home was Texas hospitality. Young lives forever changed. Many would return to celebrate the children's home, grateful for the role it played. The home was eventually sold to international businessman Ralston Yari, who secured it as a personal residence, living in the home for many years. In October of 2013, a new era began for the building. The vision of a true son of Texas, J.P. Bryan. Businessman, entrepreneur, and descendant of the Austin family, founders of the territory, Bryan purchased the grand old structure and began bringing it back to life. Starting with an extensive renovation, Bryan's vision for future use of the home was clear. The large dormitory spaces of the original structure lent themselves for use as museum galleries. The late Victorian style of the building was well suited for housing Bryan's collections. The extensive restoration brought the old children's home back to its original glory. Named after its new benefactor, the Bryan Museum opened its doors to the public in June of 2015. J.P. Bryan began collecting as a young boy. He started with 2 rare guns still in the collection today. While studying at the University of Texas, Bryan became interested in rare books and began a rare book publishing company with a friend. His collection saw serious growth when his uncle, Judge Lewis Wilson of Brazoria County, willed his impressive collection of Texas literature to Bryan. The collection then expanded rapidly. From the beginning, the mission of the Bryan Museum has been to highlight the history of Texas and the golden age of the American West. Featuring artists from that era, the collection presents an opportunity for visitors to personally experience that period of history. Today, the museum features displays dedicated not only to the history of the building, the orphanage, and the children who lived here, but it houses Bryan's extensive collection of fine art, artifacts, maps, documents, and books. The former Children's Home of Galveston is now 20,000 square feet of engaging exhibit space and meeting venues. Recognizing the importance of community partnerships, education, and preservation of history, with its impressive collections surrounded by beautiful, well-manicured grounds, the Bryan Museum has truly become a Texas destination.